I am here with my cup of coffee to, one sec, talk to you a little bit about the world of gardening. Pull my mic a little bit closer. For those that are maybe joining for the first time and saying, who the heck is somebody that calls themselves Frankie Flowers? It's actually my nickname. My real name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers. That nickname came from my friends as I was a younger boy, a younger lad working in my family greenhouse, and all the time I was Frankie and I was always around flowers, hence Frankie Flowers. It kind of stuck with me and grew. And from that, I've grown four best-selling books that are titled Power Plants, Get Growing, Potted Up, and as well as Grow Your Own Food. No, Food to Grow. That's it, by the way. My family has two garden centers, one located in Bradford, the other one located in Barrie, as well as greenhouse growers. So I have had a lifetime of experience in growing plants and of course, growing gardens. My Opa Pete had one of the biggest vegetable gardens in Newmarket. As well, you can see me Monday through Fridays on City TV's Breakfast Television, where I'm always wild about weather, giving you the forecast, and passionate about plants. And I'm here each and every Sunday morning from 9 to 9:30. Some Sundays I take off, just when I'm going to be doing some family activities. But for the most part, I'm here each and every Sunday morning to tell you a little bit about gardening and to answer your garden questions at home. We got some good morning shout outs there already this morning. That's from Pina. Good morning to you. We got some other good morning shout outs as well. Good morning from my hospital bed, says Marie. I hope you're feeling better. For anybody watching me this morning in the hospital or maybe has a family member in the hospital, it is Family Day weekend. We send you warm, positive, healing vibes, as well as we send you prayers and we send you love. And for all those hospital workers that are working out there where, months ago we were, really praising them, we need to praise them again. We never need to say thank you. I met a doctor the other day and I said, thank you to that doctor. I met a nurse the other day. I said, thank you to that nurse. Here we go as well. We got another good morning as well from Oshawa. So good morning to you. So ask me some of those questions. Of course, this weekend is Family Day weekend. If you're thinking about doing something with the kids that can be kind of fun, this is something that I did earlier this week with a group of people from Bosch and Loam, and we built a little bit of a terrarium. This is just basically a simple fishbowl terrarium using a succulent with some good potting soil. That's a fun craft activity where kids can then have something that they can grow. So you can go to your local garden center and get those items. You can even go to the dollar store. You can go to the dollar store and get that glass terrarium. You can go to the dollar store and get the decorative rocks or something like Michael's. Then you can go to your garden center and get a good quality potting soil and get a good succulent plant that is in good shape. Last week of February, here we go. March is just right around the corner. And with that, February the 20th. So this is our last full week in the month of February. A lot of people out there are probably thinking, what seeds should I start? And I just want to show you something just to kind of make it realistic. And we're going to use Bradford, Ontario as a location. I'm going to share my screen here with you. I'm going to pull up a Chrome tab that I have from the Farmer's Almanac because they actually laid it out quite nicely. And this is just a little bit of a seed starting calendar. And what you're seeing is if we go to the top here, we can see start seeds indoors is our first column. Our second column is when we're going to plant seedlings or transplant outdoors, and we're going to start some seedlings outdoors. So for instance, look at beets. Beets are best direct sown in the garden. So you see the start seed date outdoors to the far right side, if you're looking at that, it's not until about mid-May. You could go a little bit earlier May, and these are fairly conservative, but I want to draw attention to particularly the bell peppers. So you can see bell peppers, the seed sowing date for indoors is around March the 18th if we're seeding underneath the moon phase, but anywhere from March 18th to April 1st. You could go a week earlier if you wanted. You're going to be planting that out the first week of June. So this is really showing you, and even if we were to go, like tomatoes and peppers are really what people get excited about starting. If we look all the way down and we go all the way down to tomatoes, we'll see that tomatoes and peppers are fairly right around the same time for start time. So you can see seed sowing indoors for tomatoes. This recommendation is not until April, where you're going to be then planting those transplants outdoors. But I would be planting and sowing seeds for tomatoes mid-March to early March. But I just kind of wanted to let you know that now is the perfect time for you to plan your garden and to plan your seed starting schedule, your sowing schedule, and to write down those dates and put it in your Google Calendar and let you have some different alerts. And you can even group some of those together. But it's still early for most things, and if not all things. Some perennials you can be starting indoors right now. It's still very early to be starting your seeds indoors. Planning your garden is perfect. Taking some time to reflect on the garden from last year, writing down a list of what you want to grow this year, whether it be annuals, perennials, trees, shrubs, and or sitting down with the family on a family day weekend and saying, hey, let's grow some food this year. And if we're going to grow food, or if we have been growing food, what are some things that you want to grow? And I would recommend for you to grow one thing that you've never grown before. Grow one thing that kind of interests you, one thing that maybe you've never even eaten before. And that's going to provide you a little bit of fun. And sometimes you find something that's totally remarkable. We got another happy Sunday right there. Frankie from the town of Mono. Good morning to you. Here's a good question that we're going to have this morning as well. And this one's from Fran, Canada. I wintered my hibiscus and now it has green shoots. Should I prune it? It has long, bare branches with shoots on the ends. Thanks. So Fran, your hibiscus probably did drop some of its foliage. The reason why it dropped its foliage is that it was just adjusting the light levels. The green ends still indicate that it does have life and or the ability to get back and growing. I would give it a nice selective pruning of about a third of it overall. So just prune it back and that'll actually stimulate. Allow it to dry in between waterings. And now that we're in that last week of February, our daylight hours are getting longer. And because our daylight hours are getting longer, and as long as that hibiscus is in a west or south facing room that's nice and bright, it's going to have adequate light. Now that our day is getting longer, our plants are more actively growing. So now is when we can start to consider using a water-soluble fertilizer, like an all-purpose Miracle-Gro that you can just mix in water, and you're going to be fertilizing once to twice monthly when you're watering. Sometimes the best time to fertilize, allow that plant to dry out. You're going to give it a watering, allow that water to soak in a bit, and then go back on that same day and fertilize. And the reason why you're doing that, the roots will be nice and open. It'll accept the fertilizer, and you'll see those things grow like crazy. And hopefully your hibiscus will shoot out of that. Replying to Frankie Flowers, good morning. Happy Family Day weekend. That's from Inbar. Good morning to you as well. Happy Family Day long weekend, Frankie, as well. That's from Anne. My good friend Lene, which is up in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Lene is a good friend of mine. We've worked a lot. I used to do sales for my family business. We supply some of the Canadian Tire stores. And Lene was at that time, took care of the Canadian Tire store in Sault Ste. Marie, probably one of the best Canadian Tire garden centers in the entire country. I went up there several times and visited Lene and helped set up the store. And we talked plants, which is great. Right? It's not better than to talk plants. Thank you, Frankie, for your help with the olive tree. I've given the info to my son. I'll let you know how the tree makes out. Hoping for the best. That's from Barb Jack. You know, olives can be decorative olives. I'll tell you guys a story as well. Restoration Hardware in Toronto. If you ever go, you'll see it's a beautiful, beautiful place. When they first opened that store, I was the one responsible for doing some of the interior plant design, as well as procuring and sourcing and bringing in some of the huge birds of paradise and bringing in a bunch of different tropical plants, sago palms. And one of the things they wanted to bring in was a showpiece olive, because Restoration Hardware and some of the other locations in California and whatnot, the olive tree is kind of a center point to the decor of them. In the end, when we looked at where it was going to be placed, the lack of light, how dry the mall would be, because malls become very dry, we opted for an artificial olive. So if you go in their restaurant and you see some of the different trees that are in there, you'll notice that there's a mix between artificial, faux, and then there's also some real living plants. And sometimes when you mix it, and now the faux are really so good, you won't really notice. But it's got to be the right plant for the right place. If you want an olive, your olive needs to be in a home in the winter months. It can't winter outdoors. It needs to be in a home that's going to have bright windows that are a nice bright room, a home that is warm during the day, but a little bit cooler at night. So, you know, often many homeowners will turn their thermostats down at night. And now with our Nest systems, some of our air conditioning systems, we can allow to program them to get a little bit cooler at night. And that home also has to have adequate humidity. And then allowing that olive tree to dry out in between waterings. Remember, olives, like my family comes from southern Italy. Southern Italy is quite dry. As a matter of fact, very close to Africa is Calabria, and there's lots of olive trees that are there. Olives like to be more dry than what they do like to be moist. And if they're kept too moist, they're not going to do well. So there you go. Here we go as well. Good morning. My garden is on Manitoulin Island. There's a Value Mart on Manitoulin Island. I've also delivered plants to that. I've been around, man. Would like to have access to calendar for my climate. Can you please mention the website? Oh yeah. So that website that I was on, and let's share that again for you guys. So we're going to share the screen, and we're going to go to that the Google Chrome tab just to show you, which is really great. So I'm just going to share that screen again. So this is just the good old, I'm going to go up to the top. There you go. It's just the good old Farmer's Almanac. So let's just go back one, and let's see if I can go back again. You can see that what's really cool about the Farmer's Almanac is they have the 2022 planting calendar, when to plant vegetables for places in Ontario. But the same you could actually put in your other provinces across the country, and it'll give you a planting calendar. So let's go to Dunnville, Ontario, on the shorelines of Lake Erie. My good friends in Dunnville, you look at some of your spring planting dates, and we were showing you earlier bell peppers. You can see that the bell peppers are planted in mid-February for Dunnville because the plant out date is for early to mid-May. And the reason being is that Dunnville, Ontario is on the shorelines of Lake Erie, is also very close to Lake Ontario. So they're frost-free earlier than what I am here in Bradford. So location does matter because it's all about that last frost date. And that last frost date means the last day that on average we see frost in our area. And that's what guides our entire planting schedule. So once again, that was the Farmer's Almanac. Hope that helped you. I'm going to try to, over these next several weeks, now that I know how to play with these sources and starting to learn the system here as well, I'm going to be sharing some really good more websites. Just drinking my coffee here. I'm going to be sharing some websites next weekend if she's available. Forgive me. I'm going to bring Tanya on, Tanya Carvalho from Ball. Ball, of course, is one of the largest horticultural companies in the entire world, and we're going to talk about some new varieties. So I'm going to bring Tanya on. Tanya's been vacationing, which she deserves as well. I did. Sorry about that, guys. Full disclosure, I did actually book a vacation with my boys. So from March the 10th onward, so that first weekend after March 10th, so it'd be March 12th. I hope, if the Wi-Fi is stable, I hope to be doing my live broadcast from a nice warm location in a beautiful garden. So stay tuned for that. If the Wi-Fi is not stable, I won't do it. Happy Family Day weekend as well to myself and the boys from Penetang. The boys are very happy. They're skiing, which is exciting for them. Here we go again. Good morning from Oakville. How to care for Amaryllis. Striped Barbado Lily, not sure what to do. Does it go indoors later in the warmer weather, please? So Amaryllis is a flowering bulb. And Amaryllis, because it is a flowering bulb and it's a tropical flowering bulb, Amaryllis actually has its origins from South Africa, and sometimes you can even find it in South America. It does not do well in ground over winter outdoors because it is a tropical flowering bulb that doesn't like to be fully covered. If you look at the planting guides for Amaryllis, we're always leaving the top third to 2/3 of the bulb uncovered and only burying the bottom. Because of that, it cannot be left outdoors. So in order for that Amaryllis to go through another cycle, what we have to do is we have to allow an Amaryllis to come into bloom. And for those that don't know what Amaryllis are, they're generally what you see in bloom around Christmas that have these beautiful, huge flowers. They're kind of phallic when they grow. They look like something that's phallic. I'll just say that. So they're going to bloom a nice big bloom. Sometimes they're white, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're striped, as we say. They come in multiple colors. After they finish their bloom period, then the flower basically shrivels, which is a spent flower. So we cut the stem where that flower was, and then you'll start to see some leaves that shoot up on the side. We leave those leaves there. We water. We can even fertilize to allow those leaves to kind of take in some energy. Those leaves eventually over time will start to die back in yellow. As soon as they die back in yellow, we cut the leaves. We remove the bulb. We allow that bulb to dry so all the moist soil in it kind of dries off. We take like a paintbrush and we kind of dust off any of the dry soil that's on them. And then we can put it into a shoebox with dry newspaper or sawdust, because that's going to even draw some additional moisture. And we're going to put that in a cool, dark space, and we're going to let it sit there for a few months. Now, that will put it into its plunge period, that plunge period, which mimics it being outdoors in a cooler period. Then we'll pull it back out, and you can leave it in there for several months as long as it's storing right. Let's say that we pull it out in October, we replant it into potting soil with good drainage. When we leave that top portion of that bulb uncovered, and it goes through its cycle again and blooms for us. But those leaves are so important to gain energy back into the bulb. It's the same thing with your flowering bulbs in spring, like your daffodils and your tulips, your hyacinths. After the blooms finish, we remove the blooms just to make our gardens look nice and also to clean it up. But we leave the foliage there. And it's when the foliage yellows, that's when we can cut the leaves, because that foliage is the energy builder to the bulb for next year. So there you go. Let's see what else we got here. We got Tina saying, happy long weekend. So happy long weekend to you as well. Aurelian, the place to be, the Sunshine City, says, hey, Frankie. Jan, I say hey right back to you as well. This is a good message from Paula. Happy family day to you, and from Paula and Amy and Darren. I love the idea that we have a family day weekend. Every weekend should be a family day weekend. My family, growing up in the family business of Bradford Greenhouses, which I'm quite proud of, Monday through Friday, we would all work together, and we'd work on Saturdays. And then Sundays, we'd always get together for a nice big Italian lunch. And it would always be in the basement of my Nanina's home. And it was a big, long table. And the younger you were, you sat on the one end of the table. And as you aged, you work your way up to the end of the table. I made my way up the table because we always had newborn kids and whatnot. But I never made my way to the end of the table. Sadly, my Nanina passed away. And it's a tradition which, we couldn't do during the pandemic, but it's something that we really want to get back to. But every Sunday was family day for me growing up. Here we go. I think we had a question there. I was in Walmart and they have a huge display of Mackenzie seeds. Are they good? My first time trying seeds. This is from Heather Fellows. So Heather, first off, I would say to you, before you start to seed start, talk to yourself and say, and I was with my good friend Bryce and his wife last night, Kelly, and we were talking about seed starting, and Bryce is who I wrote Power Plants with. So this is Bryce. He's right there on the back of the book. And we're talking about seed starting, and Kelly was saying about all the different seeds that she buys, and they have a dedicated fridge in their basement for seeds, and they don't have that big of a property. I'm like, do you really need that many plants? So before you seed start, let's figure out, do you need that many plants? What items do you want to seed start? Generally, the best plants to buy for seed starting are those that are unique and interesting varieties. Let's say that you looked and you saw some beautiful rainbow Swiss chard. That's kind of cool. Let's say that you saw some nice yellow and or gold beets. That's beautiful to try. So Mackenzie Seeds, number one, are a good quality Canadian seed company that's been around for a long time, that generally has good germination counts on their seeds. It's a seed company that I've worked with in the past. I'm not paid for them, sponsored by them, or anything like that, but they are probably the number one seed company in Canada. Yes, they're good. But before you go out there and purchase a whole whack of seeds, really plan, because it can be quite exciting and it's not that expensive overall. Look, my camera went out. Let's see if I can, there we go. Isn't that cool? I can just, so it's when I hold up my finger, the L, that's for look. So it actually zooms the camera in. But it's not for loser, by the way. I don't know whoever decided to make the camera move to the sign of L, but it's still kind of cool. Still kind of cool overall. So there's your question. That's right there. Here we go. Another question as well this morning. Good morning, Frankie. Have you heard of putting a penny in your vase for tulips? It keeps them from drooping. You are right. They sure grow a lot when they're cut. Yes, indeed. The reason, if you looked at one of my Facebook videos, that right now I put about how to take care of tulips. And if you're wondering the reason why I said not to put a penny in there, most pennies, number one, in Canada, let's go try to find a penny now. Number two, I think it's before 1984, they were more made out of copper. After 1984, they weren't made out of copper. So I just eliminated and didn't put that in. But if you do have pennies that are made of copper, so it's the copper, it's not the penny, it's the copper, you put them in the water with the tulip, it actually does make that tulip last a little longer and prevents it from growing that extra height as well. So it won't grow as tall. They will grow 6 to 8 inches. If you're buying cut tulips right now, and last night when I went for dinner to Bryce's and to Kelly, that's exactly what I brought. I brought them a little bouquet of tulips because it's a little inspiration to spring. And I really encourage some people out there just to get some cut flowers or potted flowers, bring them indoors. If you're going through the February blahs right now, which I'm like this weekend of winter, the winds yesterday, the snow, and I'm just done. I'm just done with winter. I'm so looking forward to spring. There's that Walmart question again that's there. This is the penny question that's there again. Here we go. This is a reply. Frankie Flowers, good morning from Shedden. Good morning to you as well. This is a picture from Jan Thornhill. I don't know why Jan is. I can't pull up the picture there, but Jan's just showing me her emoji. So good morning, Amanji. Here we go with another question that we have here as well. My husband gave me mini rose plants for Valentine's Day. Amazing. It was beautiful for about a week, but now the leaves are falling off and it looks quite gangly. What is wrong with it? So that little mini rose, a beautiful plant, is something that, like I've already said, likes to be in sun, like a brighter room, but it does like to have a cooler evening temperature. Being in the greenhouse or where it was grown and then brought to your home, it has gone through a huge adjustment. It's gone from nice, even light in a greenhouse that's quite bright to your home, which has dappled light, baby light only on one side. And then also in the home doesn't have as much humidity as the greenhouse. And also the home probably stays warm all the time. Really, those mini roses, although they are beautiful and they're great as a potted plant, they are very hard at this time of the year to do well inside your home. So often what happens is after you bring them to your home, they go through a leaf drop. After that leaf drop, they start to look gangly, and then eventually they start to rot and die out. To prevent it from doing that is allow it to dry out in between waterings, really key, bright room. You can give it a little bit of a trimming back. And then as soon as frost warnings are done outdoors in about mid-May, you can plant it outdoors if you can get it to last there, and it will overwinter outside. Most mini rose varieties will. That's why if I'm giving a potted flowering plant with a long bloom period at this time of year, there are two of my favorite ones. Number one is an orchid. You can't be an orchid, blooms for a long period of time. And number two is a calanthulo. Calantulos are fantastic plants, like amazing plants that will do so well. Let me just see if I can. I'm just going to go over here and type in the word calanthulo. Ooh, my spelling's wrong. And then I'll see if I can pull this up to show you guys a picture of a calanthulo. Boom. There we go. So we'll do this. I'm just going to share my screen for you guys there again. Just give me a second. So we're going to go to there and we're going to go boom. So we're going to go here. So this is what calanthulos look like. And you can see that calanthulos come in an array of different colors. They're really quite great succulent plants that just do exceptionally well indoors, and bloom periods last an incredibly long time, like months on end. What'll happen with these guys as well, even though you'll get some dieback on some of the blooms, if you just clean them up, they'll look great. So if you're looking for an amazing flowering plant for indoors, I really encourage you to think about using calanthulos. So I hope I answered your question. I hope also I gave some other suggestions for people that are out there as well. Greg Follis. Okay, Greg Follis, good buddy, good pal. If you ever come to Bradford, you're going to see an arena called Bob Follis Arena. The reason why that arena is called Bob Follis Arena, his father, Greg's father, Bob, was a man dedicated to minor hockey. He was the man that in the old community center here in Bradford would go out there and clean the ice, and then in between cleaning the ice would sharpen all our skates. And then he would encourage you and be always a positive person at the arena that dedicated his time to community. And on a family day weekend, I know, Greg, you're missing your dad, but your dad, an amazing man, like an amazing man. Look at this. I'm going to be jealous of this person. Mary, watching from Barbados, looking forward to springtime in Coburg from Barbados. Jealous. I'm jealous. Barbados is a nice place. It's been a long time since I've been to Barbados. How to grow a fig that produces figs near Ottawa. So there are some hardy fig varieties that are out there, but in the Ottawa Valley is about a zone 4. I wouldn't feel confident when leaving a fig outdoors in the winter months. There are several different figs that you can purchase, and those figs you can put outdoors during the summer months. And then what you're going to do is in late fall is you're basically going to prune it way back. And when I mean way back, a third to almost a half of it overall. And you're going to bring it indoors, and you could even put it immediately right down into a fruit cellar and or a cantina. Or you're going to put it in an insulated garage. It's just going to go into full dormancy. You want to keep it, you want to water it before you put it into its dormancy and check on water during the course of the season. And then in spring, you'll bring it back out. And you'll bring it back out into your outdoors, into an area either part sun and or full sun, and it will grow and produce figs. My family has fig trees, and we've had fig trees for several years. Some will actually even take the fig if they don't have a cantina, and they'll dig a hole and they'll actually bury the fig all into the hole in late fall and then unbury it later on. So just take the time on Google to take a look about overwintering figs. In Ottawa, you can purchase figs from many of the different garden centers that you have, some great garden centers there. And I know on occasion in the last few years that that Loblaws was even carrying a hardy fig, but that hardy fig, I would treat it the same as a non-hardy fig because in the Ottawa region, I wouldn't feel confident. For Ottawa, I know you guys had a big weekend that happened there. I'm glad that it was peaceful and just be kind on this Family Day weekend, everybody. Let's just try to be kind overall. Um, Happy Family Day weekend to Nobleton, Ontario, just located just on Highway 27, which is great. Just to the west of it is Bolton. So Nobleton, Bolton, we'll give them both a little bit of a shout out. Debbie from Plattsville, Ontario. Good morning, Frankie. I love your podcast. Very informative. Keep up the great work. Thanks, guys. I love to do it. What are some of the other things that I want to do there? Oh, just planning for spring and weather. So what we're seeing in weather and the pattern that we continue to see here in Southern Ontario and even across the country, even if we look at Calgary was quite mild over the last couple of weeks, is we're seeing a frost thaw. We're seeing warm weather, and then we're really thawing out, and then we're seeing cold weather. This variation of temperature is extremely hard on plant material. So we will have some plant losses this year, as well as I know I'm going to have some issues with rabbits in my backyard. I've been seeing the rabbits quite a bit, and I thought they were only eating certain things that they're okay on, but I've been noticing that now that food source is gone, they're starting to eat my hydrangeas. So I got to go out there with my Animal Be Gone and give them a little bit of treatment out there as well. So here's another question that we have. Good morning, Frankie. I learned a lot from your show. Thanks. I had a jade tree for 25 years and now is dying. The branches are spongy and then dry out and are powdery. Any suggestions would help. So Mary Ellen, because you've had jade do like their feet to be pot bound, right? They do like to be in a tighter pot, but because it's been there for 25 years, I don't know the last time that you repotted. But if recently you did repot and you went to double or triple the size of pot, that could cause it to drown. That could cause that problem. The lack of vigor in the plant, if it hasn't been repotted, could be an indication that it needs to be repotting. So what I would do is pinch it back, pinch a whole bunch of selective growth back, repot it into a container with a jade plant. I would really focus on trying to get, you can get a Miracle-Gro cactus soil that you can use. You're going to get a pot that jade tend to do better in clay pots. And then you want to make sure that it has sufficient drainage. There are some glazed ceramic pots that jades will do very well in. My jade is in the other room, else I would have showed you. But I would consider repotting and then fertilizing. If you want, Mary Ellen, please send me a picture. It's Frankie@frankieflowers.com, Frankie@frankieflowers.com. By seeing it will really help me, and I can give you some further information as well. Here we go with another question, I think. Good morning, Frankie. Can you share the resources on your website too? Thanks. Connie, I will not right now. I won't be sharing those resources because we're into a full rebuild on the website, which as of March 21st is when the new website will launch. And we'll make sure that each and every week after these, we will put a listing of resources that are there. If you take a look, I know you're on Facebook. What I'll try to do is after Facebook, after this, is in the Facebook description, I will put those website resources. That'll be later today because right after this, I have to run for a family thing. So I told them that I would leave right at 9:40, and right now I'm getting close to that. So we only got room for a couple more. So I will. Thank you for that's a great recommendation. Any recommendations you have for my website, for these podcasts that we're doing, these live remotes that we're doing as well, even some of the videos that I'm doing, if there's any things that you want or you're looking for or you want those resources, please let me know. Oh, what did we do? Escape. I just got out of the full screen. So I have to hit escape right there. There we go. I'm still learning, by the way. You're always learning. Let's just go down right here. And we got, I think, another question here as well. Replying to, oh, what's wrong? See, this is the other part about, you can see Penny replying to Sylvia on this Facebook Live, that if you're watching on Facebook Live or even on YouTube, because this is streaming on YouTube or even on LinkedIn, if you know the answers to the questions, please share your advice. This is a community, and I encourage you to share your advice, to pop on there and to answer any questions that you see that you know of, or offer any resources or sources, because this is all about us all working together as community, which everybody should work together as community to make sure that we have a better garden experience and that we all learn. I learn from this. I learned, number one, what problems are being posed by people out there gardening at that time. So it allows me to figure out what different videos I should do, even what I need to learn more about. And then some of the tips and tricks that you put on are also really important for me to learn as well. Here we go as well. So here's another one. Morning from North Bay. Can I keep my poinsettia alive all year round? Do they just keep putting out red leaves? No. And this is, we're going to end off on this, Tammy, as well. So your poinsettia, yes, you can keep it alive all season long. You're going to notice now that as daylight hours get longer, you're going to see that the red all of a sudden leaves the plant. And you're like, what the heck's going on? Where's that red going? That's chlorophyll starting to be produced in that poinsettia plant. So as the daylight hours grow, we get more photosynthesis and then chlorophyll increases. So all of a sudden the green goes back into those leaves. During the summer season, you can put it outdoors as soon as we're frost free. So mid-May to late May, early June, you put it outdoors, put it in partly sun. In about the beginning of July, cut your poinsettia. I encourage you to pinch it all back by about half its size. It'll make a bushier, thicker, fuller plant. Then in late September, you'll bring it indoors before we have frost. We're going to put it in a room that has good light, adequate light, but at night, you're not going in that room. So it's just getting natural daylight. And then as the days get shorter, it'll go back to its other color. It'll go back to red as the chlorophyll will leave because photosynthesis stops and chlorophyll will not be produced. And that's how we get our color. And that's a little bit about poinsettias. So for all those that join me, you can still see I'm still kind of got a little bit of a cold lingering that's there, a little bit of a dry throat. I need to hydrate a little bit more. Thanks for joining me. I'm here each and every Sunday, 9 to 9:30 to answer your garden questions. Sorry that I didn't get to them all. If you know the answers, please hop on there. And always remember, guys, gardening is way better than therapy because it makes you feel good. And at the end, where therapy can make you feel good, what therapy can't do, it can't give you tomatoes. So gardening, better than therapy because at the end, you get tomatoes.